SMT3 sucks. Navigation is tedious, the combat being in-depth doesn't matter for most battles, the awesome demon designs are really cool to get scammed by with no meaningful user input, the absolutely beautiful, breathtaking worlds are... God damn it, man. I really wanted to have felt like I liked this game. Not because I wanted to fall in with a passionate and vocal group of fans, but because when I think about it, it's really good. The very clearly deliberate world building and world destroying choices, the demons all feeling like they really inhabit this hell environment, the writing is phenomenal. When it wants to be, it's a lonely journey. Nobody tells you what to think, and in fact, the game asks you some hard questions. In the 5 seconds this B-roll has been playing, I had to cut out 2 random encounters. Sure, some of the faults can be overlooked as a product of age, but when the writing decides to have an off day, when the battles become a chore, when the environments just decide to be oblique mazes, and there's fucking warp puzzles now! Wowee boys, that's really cool. Let's get in the portal that goes back to the start. Whee! It just makes me hate that I feel like SMT3 sucks. Navigation is for the uninitiated on Nocturne. I'll pass through it real quick, and in the time it took me to say that, the core game already started.
Yo, what's up?
You're immediately dropped into an unsettling world, getting brief glimpses of the survivors of the apocalypse that, if you're paying attention, already happened. After you forcibly become a half-human, half-demon hybrid, aka demi-fiend, you slowly see the ideals of the other survivors twist and in some cases just absolutely die as the plot progresses. More on that later in the video. Obviously, I'm not going to make you buy my light novel. It's a turn-based JRPG and is the first in the series to use the press turn battle system. You and your opponent in most cases have the same amount of moves during a turn as the side has allies, but through special cases like striking a demon's weakness, or on the other end, looking like a big silly guy and healing the demon, Joey, you've known about this. You are able to preserve or lose moves on your turn. Now, as I alluded to earlier, you gotta pay attention during fights. There's no health bar for the enemies, and there's very little indication of the status of the overall battle. I definitely have issues with memory. I learned a demon's weakness, it goes out the other. I forgot the expression, but I won't blame the game for this. I mean, it's not like a visual would help me much anyways. And he's blast. So that's a tiny overview of the game, but why is it so highly praised? I'm gonna tell you, obviously. Man, I am so fucking cool for using that joke twice. This game has a tone genuinely like no other I've played. There's very little room to be safe from demons. I mean, the conception happened. Weren't you paying attention? Huh? Hey, I forgot to mention the name of the apocalypse was the conception, so you knew about that. And I said you didn't, and basically I'm so fucking sorry. It's very clear humans used to inhabit the world recently, but even then they looked a little unsettling even pre-apocalypse. I might be reading too much into it, but their eyes look dead, their movements stilted. I don't know, their lips are pretty weird. Yeah, some of these qualities are probably due to PS2 limitations and early 3D development for Atlas. And while I get that that's all a stretch, in my defense, I just had to cut 3 random encounters from this B-roll. The gameplay fucking sucks, man. It's slow, but not in a methodical sense. It's just slow. The general movement speed is unsatisfying. The menus are clunky and take a while to learn and navigate. And this was all exacerbated near the end of the game, where one wrong move in a fight could kill you. It was hard to make that move, but if you did, fucking 20 minutes gone! What's absolutely frustrating about some major issues surrounding this game is the easy solutions to pretty objective problems would make the good parts of the experience worse. What I'm talking about here is the feeling of unease and random encounters. The bottom line of Nocturne is the world ended. You're not safe. Just trying to go from point A to B? I hate you. In a town of people that are okay with you? My neighbor isn't. I mean, there's no governing bodies or anything. It's not like there's any authorities. The prisons that do exist purely do so for the strong to torture the weak. And sure, you've seen standoffish NPCs in games before, but rarely do you see ones that are just like, yeah, you fucking suck, hope you die, idiot. Overall, they achieved what they were going for, but much like the negotiations in this game, it came at a cost. A cost of, hey, wait, man, where are you going? Come back. So before I earn a goddamn Nobel Peace Prize for saying encounter rate bad, let's go over a few points. The first of which being it's a product of its time, which I totally believe. I'm not expecting future tech out of this game, much like I'm not going back to the NES days and getting advanced block pushing physics that will really knock my socks off, because this game fucking has that. Hell yeah, baby! Secondly, the benefits of a random encounter system exist. The game wants you to feel alone, but crazy unsafe. Random encounters are one of the few solutions that can achieve this effect. It might be the only, I might have lied there. It's also decent in gameplay because in addition to the planned tax on the player's resources that come from these encounters, the deliberate randomness can lead to tighter game balancing. However, encounter rate bad. During a mid-game dungeon, I wanted to get better at conserving my resources, as that's honestly something I suck at in Megaten games. So when it came to random encounters, I could end them at full health with either a 12 MP cost or 30. I naturally chose 12 every time, even though it took longer. All it was just hitting the auto battle button if I could, and healing afterwards. It wasn't fun, it wasn't engaging, it was mindless. It was exactly what the common man thinks of when they think of random encounters. Which is bad. If the option existed to punch the hell out of them, I took it, which was more fights than I would have liked in my playthrough. And this sort of binary decision making is frustrating because I know the game is capable of non-binary decision making with blue hair and pronouns that should DM me at Kelkador and also subscribe. The fight with the trumpeter is a simple concept. After a certain number of turns, he offs your lowest health party member. Then a few turns later, yeah, okay, dude, nothing happened, I guess. How do you maximize damage against this guy when one of your party members is guaranteed to be off? You're given this puzzle with an open-ended answer. It's amazing. Let's go! But then to get there, you have to punch a couple dozen guy. Now, to understand my view of this, I have a game theory that in any given turn-based RPG, you control the strongest party in the game, statistically. And the only thing really stopping you at any point from being exceedingly bored is that you might be stupid. No! Oh. That's why the game's gotta give you interesting puzzles and not just, oh, okay, that makes sense. And to the game's credit, a lot of boss fights fulfill this fantasy. Like this Spectre fight, where it's conveyed that he needs MP to attack, and so he drains MP from you and casts the funny move on the next turn. But if you use mana drain on him, even though it's functionally a just get mana button on most other demons, it actually stops him from using the big move. That's really cool. Then in most other fights, 1 is smaller than 2, so as you can see, these people come out of fucking nowhere and just come to beat the shit out of you for fun. What is this? The Midwestern United States? What is this? The Wolfman movie coming to beat the shit out of me? Yes. I just think this lack of meaningful thought combined with random encounters in most battles just sucks flat out. To compare to another game, Persona 3. Yes, you can see the enemies in the overworld in Persona 3, but avoiding them is pretty luck-based, so it seemingly has the same problem. But you can choose when you're in the dungeon, but you need to get to a certain point, but you need to get enough experience, but you can't get exhausted. Just these combination of factors makes for a more meaningful conversation in the overworld that I think SMT3 lacks. It felt to me like playing the game, there was a spectrum of answers you could give in Persona 3 that is limited in SMT3 to you did it right or try again. Not to mention, the question was asked without my fucking consent. The overworld is just not fun to explore for me. Even if I'm at a net positive for doing so, the rewards, I'm just not pogging, you feel me? Not to mention dungeons. They just feel like hallway after hallway, and I understand why it is that way, but I don't like it. There are areas where I'm still genuinely impressed by the ingenuity, like how did people come up with this when it was caveman times? But I feel like the game punishes you way more than I think is reasonable for guessing wrong. I get it. I get that it's a draw. Difficulty. I just don't think it should be difficult because you guessed wrong. And as stated before, warp puzzles are bad. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, thank you, dude. Demons are cool, and that's my segue to talk about party mechanics. You yourself are the dummy fiend, and what this means is you have access to different Magatamas you can equip to adjust your stats and get different learn sets, weaknesses, strengths. You also get to customize your stat growths entirely. If you're planning to main and only use a certain Magatama, don't. It's really about continuing forward on your journey, and you really can't do it if you got a bad Magatama matchup for a tough fight. This philosophy also extends to the demons. Yeah, Funny Monkey is really cool now. What? He's a cool monkey! But eventually grow up, dude. Demons are disposable in a process called fusion. Kill 2 birds with 1 stone and get a really cool bird. Demons can evolve, but they don't often super grow with levels. They get their learn sets and that's mostly it. But with fusion, you are able to inherit moves from the dead birds and transfer it on to the new guy. Something that was completely randomized in the original release for some reason, but has since been made with the option of manual move selection. This allows for a lot of unique playthroughs because maybe you won't get the same guy every time. No, seriously, you might not. Negotiations in this game are hyper stinky. You gotta bargain with demons for items, they could scam you, and then afterwards they might ask you a question. A simple premise, but I've been assured it's a random mess. So this game is pretty fire. The themes of the game are beautiful, but the story sucks. I don't have a segue, it's just really fucked up. I hate almost every main character in the game as a character, and while I've been told that's the point, it isn't. Porky is a character in Earthbound that's made to be hated. He would be pretty bad if he was real, but I like him as a character. So when I say these characters suck, I don't mean it as in if they were real, I just wouldn't agree with them. I mean this woman, when concerned that unknown powerful forces were being really mean, and went from that to saying a world of eugenics would be pretty fire. What? So no, it's not like I don't think a character advocating for the rule of the strong couldn't be interesting. And it's not like this is an entirely unviable starting point, but literally the last you see of her, she's in despair that the strong are being so fucked up and cruel. I think Chiaki is probably the worst character in the game. Stupid ass dress. Not to mention Isamu getting mad at me because he got freed from a prison and immediately beelined it to another prison and blame me for being too stuck in a cutscene to help him. To be clear, I'm okay with characters being wrong in their convictions and assertions. I don't even need to see their point. To me though, it just feels like there's this uncanny valley of being wrong that if you fall in it, fuck you, dude, holy shit. The only character I could really see the corruption of is Hijiri. Yeah, like, okay, it's still a little rushed, but I think his back and forth with Isamu moments before he fucking dies is the best written story scene. And despite my grievances with the writing and random encounters, I will always sacrifice my time to see what the devious demons have to say, because for some reason that's just way better. Like even sometimes talking to random NPCs, oh don't worry dude, you didn't need to tell me something nefarious is afoot, I already knew. Now just shake it off and get back in it, champ. You're so fucked up. Although I thought I'd hate the mannequins, they are one of my favorite parts of the experience, straight up. While the souls of the dearly departed from Ya are cynical and jaded, the mannequins introduce an aura of innocence. They are friendly, have childlike ambitions, and although there's a few of them with more advanced goals, they are respected or feared and treated as otherworldly by the common mannequin. They are a new race, so perhaps they would go through the same transformation of cynicism and greed. Maybe they also become really stupid at some point, and you gotta pick one of them even though you really don't wanna. That being said, for 3 endings, you are essentially given pitches as to why their world deserves to be the one canon in the lore of real life. This is actually a common occurrence in Japan. It's how they choose their prime minister, actually. There are obvious holes in their arguments, yet they're supposed to be, as the writing is meant for these people to be corrupted beyond any reasonable measure. That's capitalized because that's proper noun in game, very funny, haha. This shirt is hilarious to me. The leaders of their reasons assemble to attempt to make the world of the conception into a new, what they would call paradise. They kill each other over it, and you have to climb to the center of the vortex world to make a new world. I was under-leveled at this point. Honestly, not bad against the game, bad on me. I just thought it was really funny. I got the incel ending by just choosing the options I would have if put into that scenario. Wait, and bada bing, bada boom, what an awful game, it's excellent. I'm not trying to cosplay a pretentious video essayist here. I don't need to, I am one. SMT 3 is pure art, one that could only exist in the form of a video game. The choices necessary to achieve that vision really suck for video games. There are things that are just bad that don't have any excuses. but for several extended sessions. That was the most immersed I've been playing a game in years. I mean, some of my favorite games, I feel like a bystander or that I'm controlling a character. Several moments in SMT3, I felt like myself up against a challenge. I did not enjoy that challenge while playing it. I felt frustrated and honestly kind of pissed off, and it was the second game ever to make me say out loud while playing it,
"This fucking sucks."
The first was SMT5, so I'm gonna assume this is just a thing with the series until proven otherwise. I feel like the game sucks,
but I think the game is good. And believe me, you're not alone in being shocked and surprised by that conclusion. I would very much like to go through and get all the endings again, except no, I wouldn't. That would be fucking bad. Basically, in hindsight, I'm glad I played it, but while I'm playing it, I'm not. Okay, thanks for liking my Reddit post, kind stranger. Now give it a gold or get the fuck out. Okay, bye.